Good evening, everybody. Welcome to CCSW week number 9, our final week here for NA before we get to playoffs in a few weeks. I'm Brimstone, and I'm joined here by Golden Falcon as well as Red Cube. How's it going, guys? Nice to have you back. Golden Falcon, how'd you feel last week? How'd you feel about the matches?
Not bad. I still can't, to be honest, I can't take my mind off of Yaz's Ace. I think that's
Yeah.
the highlight of my week right there, which is kind of amazing. There's a lot of esports going on this weekend, but that I don't know. That's that filled up my entire schedule basically.
Definitely. And Red Cube, as always, good to have you back here as well. You excited for this week?
I think this week is actually probably one of my most favorites because it's the last week before playoffs, and I think the tensions are just like everyone's getting ready. Like you're so close, but you're still so far. As well as the fact, most of the time in leagues like this, you'll start to see the standings kind of just run stagnant once you reach that kind of second to last week or the actually third to last week. Sometimes the standings kind of stay the same. But the thing is, so far, something we have seen quite a bit of is standings have been moving so much. And I think that's something that is, as I apologize, I think Clade Feed was actually unmuted. I just heard absolutely everybody start talking in the lobby. But but the thing that I think we're going to be able to see today is like there's actually still a lot of games that can move around the standings quite a bit, even in this last week. And that's something you don't typically see. And what that means is this entire season has been filled with incredible competition. The fact that we are going to the wire to figure out what the seeds are going to be is absolutely spectacular. But that does come at a kind of little bit of a different side of the story, which is the fact that there are a couple games this week that don't mean too much. But those are also going to be just a blast to watch because you're probably going to see some memes and maybe some knife fights and things like that.
Or maybe people even going all out. There's nothing left
Yeah.
to hide. Why not go for it? Before we get into that, I just wanted to bring up with the audience, though, that because we've hit 10,000 subscribers with CCS, we are going to be doing an AMA. That way, if you type in !AMA into the chat there, you'll get some information and some details to follow on. It's an Ask Me Anything with our entire crew here at CCS. Any of the burning questions you might have, send them along, and we'll do our best to answer them for you here. What we will do now is take a look at the schedule coming up for this evening to give you an idea of what we can look forward to. And we have tonight, starting off the first match of the evening, and what might be the top match of the evening. We have Victoria's Secret going up against Queen Yolo mid. That's the second and third seed. And I'll get into it in just a moment of what all of this means between like the wins, the losses, how that will affect seeding. Second up, we have Outdeuced going up against Power, followed by Artemis going up against Slaughterhouse. A lot of houses in here tonight. And then and then Disrupt Gaming Female going up against Axios to finish it off. And of course, last but not least, off stream, we have Sinister Red going up against 8K, and you will be able to catch that VOD on YouTube later on. Now, here's the complicated part, and you started to allude to it, Henry.
Yeah.
So bear with me for a moment here, because there's 4 different scenarios that can play out this evening for the seeding. It's way up in the air, really open here. So bear with me here, and I'll try to get through it of how it works. If Queen Yolo mid wins over Victoria's Secret, either way, they will secure themselves as the second seed going into the playoffs. If DG wins their game, they'll secure the third seed with Victoria's Secret going down from second to fourth. And if they lose, Victoria's Secret will at least retain second and face Queen Yolo mid, and DG will be in fourth. Now, if we flip the script and we have Victoria's Secret taking the win over Queen Yolo mid here, they will secure themselves as that second seed spot. And then depending on if DG wins their game, once again, they'll be in third. If they lose, they'll be in fourth. So 4 entirely different scenarios playing out here. I'll bet you Artemis is watching these games. Even though their match might not mean as much when they play it this evening, I'm sure they'll be paying close attention to see who they'll be facing. As of course, I mean, this Queen Yolo mid Victoria's Secret match could be our preview for their first round match in the playoffs here. Possibly even a finals preview, although I think we all think that's pretty unlikely, granted that we're all pretty certain Artemis will be the ones making it to that final spot. They haven't lost yet. They're unlikely to win tonight, but that would be the upset of all time,
Yeah.
I would say here, if they take that one. Now, what's really interesting is let's quickly talk about, I really like to get into it, the map scenario between Victoria's Secret and Victoria's Secret. I'm sounding like you now, Henry.
Okay,
I'm
that's
getting
enough.
all,
That's
yeah,
enough.
I'm
Can we mute
getting,
him? Can we mute him?
yeah, can we? That would be
Listen,
great.
we can take care of this.
Um, Sorry, my ink stinks are just getting the best of me here. Um, so the map is going to be a really interesting decider, and we'll get to the map ban later on. Obviously, we don't have that yet, but that'll be really interesting between these two teams because they want to win right now, but they also don't want to be giving up any strats or anything. Can you talk a bit more about that, Henry?
So coming into this week, I think something that we were talking about last week a lot was where do we draw the line where we stop showing strats and where we start showing strats? And I think this is very, very important. Like you alluded to, Victoria's Secret are in second right now, but if the kind of the world goes completely against them, they could fall all the way down to that fourth seed. So the top four is pretty much decided right now. It just kind of depends on who's going to be the 2, 3, and 4 spot. Artemis is no matter what going to be the number 1 spot, even if they lose today. But the thing is, with today's game, Victoria's Secret need to realize, hey, do we want to kind of show everything and risk playoffs just to kind of secure a second spot seed? Or do we hold back a little bit? We know we'll make playoffs and just say, okay, we're fine. We're content with the fact that we could be in that fourth spot seed. It's really just a game of, would you rather show a lot of things and guarantee a second seed, or would you rather just show absolutely nothing, prepare for playoffs, and then be in that fourth seed, but go up against Artemis in the first round? There's a lot of situations that you kind of have to talk about as a team, especially coming into a week like this. And Victoria's Secret and Queen Yolo Mid both have to respectively kind of discuss what they want to do. But I think Victoria's Secret in that term, in kind of that area of things, has the advantage simply because they have Goddess as a coach. I think Goddess has really kind of drilled into these players has what they should do and what they shouldn't do in this week of games and what they should kind of expect going into playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what Victoria's Secret brings. They could easily just say, we don't want to show absolutely anything, or they could really go all in for that second spot seed.
Definitely. Now, speaking of Goddess, we've got some pretty interesting news here. So we'll jump into the rosters here. Victoria's Secret today will be using 2 different players than they normally use, and we'll look at the rosters here. So Victoria's Secret will be going with Rachel Boo, that one Brit, and I'll skip down to Sketchopotamus here. Those are the 3 that we're used to seeing. But today they're bringing in Goddess and Estrella, who they did have Estrella last week, but they're
Estrella, just to correct you real quick, Estrella is Breezy.
Oh, Estrella is Breezy.
Estrella is
My
Breezy.
apologies.
They just had a name change. Yeah.
Okay. So then Goddess will be replacing Lil Lexi this week.
Yep.
So Lil Lexi out, which is a loss, but you get to bring in Goddess as well. So, pretty good at
That's
the
a
end of the
super
day.
sub. That is a super sub. If
Exactly.
for all of the soccer or football fans out there, the Mario Götze World Cup super sub, this is equivalent to that. Goddess coming in as a sub in a game like this is absolutely huge for Victoria's Secret.
Yeah, a big one for them certainly. But Queen Yolo Mid is still Queen Yolo Mid. And of course, they've got Animosity, Autumn May, Bappers, Fuya, and Ashton, which all 5 of those names can win you a round and can win you a game, more importantly. Autumn May had 12 kills last week. They had 2 other players. I might get this wrong, but I believe it was Bappers and Fuya, who also had 10 kills each. There were just kills everywhere. They did have a tough match last week. Sorry, it was actually Victoria's Secret had a tough match against Outdeuce last week. They won 8-6. It did go to overtime. Outdeuced, I would say, gave them a tough time. Victoria's Secret still played very well. And then Queen Yola Mid beat 8K, but that was still a 7-5 match. So it talks more to the amount of skill throughout this league, but both teams coming off of wins, coming in with momentum to this week. Is there one player in particular, or maybe name me your top 2 players, Falcon, who you think on Queen Yola Mid will be the ones to help them take this and secure that second spot?
Right now, I'm thinking Autumn and top 2 is hard. Either Fuya or Animosity. Like I have to go top 3. Top 2 is definitely in a team with names like these and with the performance that performances, excuse me, that we've seen across the season. It's kind of difficult to pick a top 2 rather than just like a good 3/5 of the roster.
The other interesting thing to note too, which outside of VODs and everything like that, a lot of these girls on both sides know each other as well, and they know their play styles. So I think that'll make it really interesting for this matchup to see where they go because they know each other very well. It's not just the VODs; a lot of these girls are streamers as well, and they've seen each other and they see what what they do. So that'll make things really interesting as well. But as we talked about it earlier, I really want to find out what map we're going to. I think the map ban will be the biggest telltale because of two stacked teams. The only thing left to decide is the map ban.
Yeah, so we are actually having a couple of issues with the map ban. I think we're going to be able to let you guys know what the map is. I don't necessarily know if we can show the graphic. I'm not 100% positive, but we will be able to let you guys know exactly what the teams are going to be playing on. The one thing that I think we have to kind of keep an eye on is last week we saw for the first time a week without Clubhouse. Will that somehow repeat itself? I really don't think so. I think we're probably going to see a Clubhouse today simply because I think it's just the most comfortable map for so many of these teams. And in a week where there's games that really matter and there's games that don't really matter, just kind of playing on your most comfortable map is the best option for both of those scenarios. So I'm kind of expecting most likely a Clubhouse is going to be played this week. We saw a lot of Villa last week, and we also saw a lot of Cafe the week before. So if there's like a big three of maps that I'm expecting to see, it's going to be Villa, Cafe, and Clubhouse. At the beginning of the season, that's not at all what I would have said because we didn't see Cafe or Villa until about week 6, week 7. And then after that, it just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. And I think that pattern is going to continue now that we've reached the somewhat tail end of this season, and we're just going to have to wait and see. Obviously, we are having a couple issues with exactly what map they are going to be playing on, but until we get word, we will let you know exactly what map it is going to be. But I mean, a question for both of you guys. I think, Falcon, you can take this one. What map are you expecting from two teams like this? Obviously, we said the stakes are pretty high for this game. Do you think they're going to go to somewhere that we haven't seen before, or is it going to be more of a comfort pick?
I could say something like a coastline because it is that kind of 50-50 and these teams are pretty evenly matched. I'm not entirely sure when Queen Yolo mid got the information that Goddess was the sub for Victoria's Secret, but if that were earlier, mm, it's hard to say. I'm still probably gonna stick with coastline because it is that like really even playing ground. I don't think any of them really have a map advantage over the other team. They're both really good teams, both really good rosters, really good players individually on all those. And this being the last play day of the season, like you said, maybe like neither of these teams are going to want to show too much, right? Because
Yeah.
Victoria's Secret, they do have Goddess, which means this just in general isn't the roster they're going to be playing with, or at least I don't think it will be during the playoffs. So whether they want to or not, maybe they can't even show all the strats that they want. So Victoria's Secret either way is probably not going to be putting 100% in this game, maybe like 90%, or who knows, maybe Goddess knows more than each of the individuals combined because she's the coach. So that could be the case. Maybe they're putting like 110% in. But either way, Queen Yolo mid is going to be going against something that they're not going to necessarily have to deal with in as a whole, right, during playoffs. So maybe they're just going to stick with the coin flip and hope that they can outgun them, or maybe worst comes to worst, just yeah, like hope for the coin flip.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely. So although we weren't able to get the graphic up for you here, we did go through the map ban phase and we did find out that it is in fact Cafe that we will be going to. So really interesting. You've alluded to it in previous weeks, Henry, that this is a really interesting map because it leaves things very open for both sides to be very fluid with their approaches. And if correct me if I'm wrong as well, but the more open you can be, that could also kind of lean towards the less you can give away because you might try out certain strats to see how they work here, but not use these strats later on in playoff.
Yeah, and it's kind of one of those things again. It's like, we've been talking about this over and over and again, and we already sound like a broken record, but it's just one of those things like, do you want to show it to just win, or do you want to not show it to maybe win later? It's kind of the short run versus the long run. In this type of situation, I always recommend the long run because they have guaranteed their spot in the playoffs. There's no reason you should be showing anything. But yes, like you said, we are going to be playing on the map of Cafe. And I'd also want to say, if you guys kind of see me like pushing things, like pushing things below me, that's my dog. So just don't worry about that. He gets very excited when I'm casting and just likes to like sit right on top of me. And I'm just trying to make sure he doesn't knock anything over. So I do apologize if you guys just see me constantly moving things away, but he's just trying to be as involved as possible. But it looks like we are going to be hopping in very, very shortly here as we are getting ours from everybody in the chat. And it looks like it's going to be Victoria's Secret versus Queen Yolo mid on the map of Cafe, and arguably the most important match of this week. Let's see what happens. I unfortunately think Falcon's mic might be muted.
I am muted. I
He's back.
apologize.
He's back. He's back.
Sorry about that. But either way, moving on. Victoria's Secret is starting on the defensive side on this map. So being Cafe, it is pretty defender sided. The
Yeah.
only map that's beyond that is Villa, actually, at like 1% higher or something. But Cafe is pretty defender sided, like 57% or something. And Victoria's Secret having that defensive side first, they have the advantage for 6 rounds, basically. And since technically they are the side that's a bit more favored, like a tiny bit more favored to win. I'm not entirely sure what the strafe vote is. I forgot to check, but they do, one, they have Goddess, and two, their second seed rather than the third. They are really close, but this is still putting them slightly up. They have a bit of an edge. And right now
Yeah.
with the ban phase, actually, defense seems to have okay. They're getting crippled a bit. Maestro's out, and maybe we're gonna see an Echo. No, we're gonna see a Mira. So that's even still 2 impactful bans for the defensive side. And Thatcher and Buck, those can be replaced with other things. Obviously, you've got Sledge for nades. You've got Dekaibi for nades as well. We saw a lot of Dekaibi this weekend actually at this at the season 10 finals. So maybe some of these players are gonna bring it out. Who knows? But yeah, it looks to me at least that the defender is going to be slightly more impactful by these bans than the attacks.
I think no matter what in this meta, the defenders are always going to be slightly more impacted simply because I think the defenders are always better. So you look at the likes of Maestro, Mira, Echo, you're most likely going to see at least one of those operators banned out. And because they are all so powerful, it's just going to result in this situation where the defense really takes a hit. But if we also look at those attacker bans, taking off a Thatcher and taking off a Buck, the thing that really hurts is the Buck ban, in my opinion. Thatcher ban is very important on Cafe. It's something we see almost every single time. It's one of the most banned operators on Cafe. So I think teams at this point should be able to adapt to that. Buck is a little bit less likely. And I think the reason why, I think the reason why the Buck ban is really important, in my opinion, is because the main objective of an attacking team is to make the defenders feel as uncomfortable as possible. And that is Buck's best quality. He is 100% the best at doing that. And the fact that he is not going to be allowed to do that whatsoever, he is not even going to be in play, you don't have those nades, that means you're going to rely on somebody like a Sledge who unfortunately cannot shoot above him. He has to shoot, well, he has to use his hammer below him, and or you're going to have to use a Jackal who doesn't have grenades. So Buck is just kind of the mix of Sledge and Jackal in my opinion because of that secondary shotgun that Jackal has. But it's just not as powerful if you use the Jackal or the Sledge. And I think this Buck ban is really going to become apparent in this entire game. As we also see already, the defense is just tearing up the floor and doing as much remodeling as possible in the very early goings of this round.
That was kind of cool. I don't know if anyone noticed, but straight up tossed that Kaid on the bottom of the floor. I'm pretty sure it's tricking, well, not tricking, but it's electrifying the 2 walls that are connected to piano right beside freezer. That was I mean, I might not watch a lot of Cafe, but I've not seen that one before. That's pretty cool. So they are still bringing out a decent amount of stuff. They've got holes. They shredded the in between piano and the bar wall. And look at that. An Echo doing anything rolling around, and Fuya's already gonna spot that out. So look at, yeah, they've got a lot of different rotates for this drone and for the players too. So they're gonna be at least showing some stuff. Maybe they've got more in the pocket, but this isn't entirely just pugging it out completely.
Yeah, and I think right there is where we see the evidence of why Thatcher is so important. You chuck a nade in and it gets immediately eaten up by an ADS. That's a significant loss of utility. I think nades are overlooked quite a bit in Siege, and if Jaeger can get just one nade in his round, those ADSs 100% did their job. And the fact that we saw that super early on really shows that Thatcher ban is going to hurt just a bit. But you can definitely clear out those ADSs a little quicker with the IQ, and that's kind of what we saw from Fuya earlier on. So it's like maybe just a little bit of a misplay as kind of tossing in that nade a little bit prematurely, but already Autumn May is going to be the one to find a kill on to Sketchapotamus. So down goes the Mozzie and down goes the C4, but Goddess with the immediate refrag with the shotgun from below onto Autumn May. So a direct refrag now, and it is looking very, very good for the defenses. There is only about a minute left for them, and they kind of have all the attackers in spots where they don't necessarily want, because they have control of piano. Oh, it's just like that. Animosity is able to get a kill onto Rachel Boo, but looks like it's just gonna be immediate refrags after refrags, as we now are seeing Goddess perched up on these white stairs, just trying to deny any type of push, and it's going to be Estrella is going to be able to shut that down. But it looks like I'm extremely ahead of the stream, so we are going to try to figure that out as soon as possible.
Frays going back and forth again. Fuyo taking out Goddess after a shotgun kill from Goddess. Okay, maybe they are pugging it out a bit. They're having a bit of fun. Goddess with the shotgun on the Jaeger. She does get a pick with it and actually leaves the IQ last alive. They do get a trade. Great shot from both players, but unfortunately for the attacker, there is a one defender left alive. Estrella is here to secure the round win after her teammate falls. So that is one round actually for Queen Yolo mid on the defense.
Yeah, so we are running into some sync issues again, and we apologize, but do not worry, ladies and gentlemen. Instead of adding spectator spots that would make this a lot easier, we did get that Boss G ACOG today. Woo! That is absolutely spectacular. Thank you, Ubisoft. But no, we are going to try to figure this out as soon as possible. As it looks like we are somewhat significantly ahead of where this stream is, but we could just say that's just the game sense of the casters, and that's exactly what is happening. But we are going to be trying to figure this out, because it looks like, yeah, we are really far ahead. As you guys are seeing the operator picks, we are like halfway through the prep phase, but we'll figure it out as soon as possible. But I think something we can talk about is the fact that last round, even with the attack getting the first kill, I think just the control that Victoria's Secret had almost throughout was what really allowed them to kind of just get that round and almost escape with it, because you're looking at that type of situation and you're thinking, okay, the attack, yes, they got the first kill, but they really have almost zero map control. They had piano, but that was just about it. They had Goddess was still downstairs. They had basically the defense had complete control of sight, and there's not much the attack could do in the span of 30 seconds. So it's just a little bit unfortunate there for the attacking side, and I'm pretty sure we're probably going to see them pick up the pace just a little bit and try to expedite that control a little bit more. It looks like I am synced now, because I just did a bunch of pauses and plays until we figured out where it was, but it looks like, yes, so we are 100% synced, so we're all aligned, ladies and gentlemen. Thank God.
We're back aligned. I mean, this is North America, so we're bound to have problems. Not really surprised. This is just how it goes, and especially with the much-needed Bashi ACOG, we will be delaying the fix for better spectator system for a little more. So who knows when that's gonna come? But for now, we're gonna have to deal with one person adjusting all the cameras, and even the most ironic thing is, like, in game there's a potential of 5 different people on the cameras, right? But like in real life we have to deal with one guy on 10 cameras.
Yeah, it's just definitely unfortunate, as I feel like that's something we probably should see in the next year, but we're just going to have to wait and see. I'm hoping we hear the kind of those announcements and invitationals, but already we can see the attacking team is definitely expediting this process, and it's almost the exact same process we saw before. Automate once again is able to find the first kill. That's going to be on Estrella, and goodbye to that 416 carbine. Obviously not a lot of utility off the board, but that's a very valuable gun, and also a very nice shot there from the Twitch, as Automate is just sneaking her way upstairs, trying to get as much control as possible of the upstairs before they orchestrate their push onto the bottom half and into the site. As this has been a very good up top clear, as taking down not only the ACOG, but also the 416 carbine is a really good start for this attack, but it's going to slow down just a bit, as it's going to be Automate who falls to the hands of the Legion. As Legion rotated up those white stairs and is now sitting next to this plywood area, waiting for anyone to waddle in front of her crosshairs. And this has definitely slowed down the once very fast attack that we saw from the side of Queen Yolo mid.
Yeah, they started really quick, but after that retake came in, they still have no idea where she is either. She's tossing out Legion mines, so they have a general area to hunt for, but she gets one shot, refragged by Bappers. Good job by the attacking side to get that trade really quickly. And good eyes by her to see that Legion mine saves her about 10 health. And she keeps her team the man advantage. Now look at that. Rachel Boo holding off-site with her teammates still droning seemingly in the bomb site somewhere. That's a bit risky, and not knowing exactly where they're sledging above her. But they're not going to pay attention just yet. I don't think they've spotted her. So she's got some time, and back off the drone. And now she's getting pressured from above. But but they're still not going to be connecting any bullets. Just those holes to get some pressure onto the bomb site. And it's still pretty slow. 2 versus 3, so man advantage still in favor of the attackers, but this time might start to matter. The Sledge, she knows, is in the closet. Brit's going to lose that gunfight. And 1v2 as Rachel Blue just trade one back into Ashton. Look at the health. The bomb is on the ground, but recovered quickly by Animosity. Vapors now has to cover, and she makes it happen while their teammates low on health. So thank goodness she had that in between her as well as Rachel. Final frag comes in, and 1-1 for both teams.
Yeah, I don't exactly know where the intel came from. It could have been just the ears of Bappers, but being able to just completely turn around and get that kill was absolutely huge because Sledge, like you said, was a lesion mine away from meeting the grave. And the fact that Bappers found herself in a very favorable position to win out that gunfight, takes down the Mozzie, because I think Mozzie, if I'm not mistaken, still had a C4 in the pocket. That round could have gone completely differently if Mozzie was in a 1v1 situation. You check a C4 against the wall at a Sledge who is already about 10 health, just the shrapnel is going to bring that Sledge down, and that could have easily been a round in favor of Victoria's Secret. But it's going to be the side of Queen Yolo mid that ekes out that round, even with some issues in the later half of slowing the pace down just a little bit. We saw in the beginning there from Queen Yolo mid, it was very quick. They got control of up top almost immediately. They got 2 kills, and then they were refragged by the Legion upstairs. But it was right when that Legion kind of died, right around the moment of when the Legion was making his presence known upstairs, is when Queen Yoloma definitely started to slow down, and that was when you kind of thought of Victoria's Secret finding themselves back into that round. But they, in the end, Queen Yoloma were able to clean it up and queen it up, exactly. And they were able to queen it up and kind of pick up the pace just a little bit and set the tempo a little bit better. And that's what resulted in them winning that round, because it did force Mozzie in a position where he had to, she or he, technically I'm talking about the operator, so he had to retake site in a 2v1 situation, and that's not necessarily the most viable spot to put your defenders. So even with some hiccups, Queen Yoloma do find a way to eke out of it, and now making it a 1-1 scoreline.
Good positioning by the Gridlock as well, to get yourself in between both players. If that was a bit different, if maybe the Mozzie was inside a train or something like that, maybe they could have gone differently. If he just peeks on a little too far into the fireplace, she could have gotten a shot off, and a shot was basically all she would have needed. But that is not the case. Past tense is definitely, that's not the saying. That's hindsight is 2020, so they're definitely gonna be looking out for that next time. But for now, attack onto the bottom floor. All 3 bomb sites being played now by Victoria's Secret. They tried the top floor, didn't work out, so they're going to the bottom now, and they haven't repeated one yet. They haven't needed to. But a minute into the round, and a lot of vertical pressure already being applied. Seems to be kind of similar to previously. The Sledge, well played by Animosity to stay alive basically until the end of each round. Able to use all that utility, even though the Buck is banned. She does have nades, so it's very good. And so far, she hasn't exactly needed to use her sledgehammer vertically, at least like up, not dug down, but yeah, like what you mentioned. She hasn't needed to do that just yet. So definitely helpful. But Goddess, look at this, creeping around. I don't think they know. They don't have a drone in the drone hole. No info, and she's going to get a pick off of that Animosity. Just as I'm praising her for staying alive is the entry frag for Goddess. And even a teammate in the hallway to help her out. But that's not going to matter. Rachel Blue's going to get a frag on the Bappers and following up a headshot into Ashton. And all of a sudden, 2 versus 5. Looking really bad for the attacking side of Queen Yolo mid. All in the span of about 5 seconds.
If you're Queen Yolo mid right now, though, the 2 people you really want in these types of situations are going to be Autumn May and Fuya. So this is definitely not over. You have a minute to work with as an attacker, but now, okay, it's getting a little bit closer to over. As Autumn May is now the last alive, it does have that F2, which is an incredible gun, but a 1v5 situation, basically Autumn May against the world. It's going to result in a flawless round for the side of I almost said Sonics because I saw that SQ in Goddess's name. But it's going to be a flawless round for the side of Victoria's Secret. And this is already, in my opinion, shaping up to be a game where the teams are going to be really trying to flirt with the lead. It's going to be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Because, like you said, this is a defender-sided map. And that, so far, is the only round where we really saw Queen Yolo mid slip up into this kind of situation where the round got away from them. And I think if they bring it back here, we're going to see back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And once Queen Yolo mid, even if they are down going into the half, once they get onto attack, no, my fault. Once they get onto defense, I'm expecting that pattern just to continue, and we could easily see another overtime game. I think last week was the only week where we saw 2 overtime games in the same week, and we could easily kind of continue that trend going into this week.
Yeah, I'm definitely expecting the same thing. First things first, though, like that heads-up play by Goddess, very good job by her to go up those, I think it was white stairs, just lurk up there. She knows there's no drones, and she found the one hole that was in the defense, quote-unquote defense. They wanted to defend the second floor because they had already taken it, but unfortunately for them, there was that hole. There were no drones, no intel on this little lurk from Goddess up the white stairs, so very good little roam play by her to look at the entry frag and have her teammates mop up elsewhere. We didn't unfortunately get to see 2 kills by Rachel Boo on mute, but we know that they're probably pretty decent shots. A shotgun, the chest of one, and then a headshot into another. So yeah, pretty, again, flawless round by them. And something to note as well, obviously everyone probably knows Goddess. She's gone around, she's got she streams every once in a while. She's got Pro League experience, she's got CL experience, so she's probably the most experienced in competitive out of basically every single player in this lobby right now. So not surprising that she is the one to be able to make those heads-up plays and find those holes in, right now, technically the attack, not even defense. So switching onto the defense, or switching onto their attack, kind of contrary to what you might say, she might be the one to actually expose those weaknesses in Queen Yolo mid's defense. But that's to be honest, that's quite a ways away. We've got about 9 minutes or more until we get there. So for now, still going to be sitting quietly on their own defensive side, while Queen Yolo mid try to do the same thing to them. And who knows how well it's going to shape up, as we do have that one super sub, as you mentioned.
Yes.
Who might be the person to just be the rock wall in between Queen Yolo mid and the bomb plant basically every round. But in this case, we do see Autumn kind of replicating Goddess's success from the last round. Goddess is inside a fireplace, looking the wrong way though. Autumn is probably not going to realize this. And there's another player actually outside. She was inside, rotated out. Okay, was inside her reading, but Autumn takes her place, and Goddess doesn't have the information, so she gets tapped in the back of the head and executed. And look at this. Bit of a tense moment. Neither player knows of the other's existence. I don't think the camera's on Autumn right now, or else she would have probably gotten pre-fired by now. But this is a bit awkward for both of these guys.
Yeah, we see Autumn right now just doing the best impression of like a sneaky little rat just running around on the bottom of the map, because it's working them. You saw that's kind of exactly the same idea that Goddess had last round, and Goddess found 2 kills with it, and Autumn could easily find 2 or 3, and the fact that she's already found 1 on arguably the most valuable player right now for Victoria's Secret, she has 100% done her job. The one problem is Autumn is doing her job, but the rest of the attack seems to be stalling out once again in this piano area. They've gotten control of piano, but they just kind of seem to just be sitting here stagnant, waiting for something to happen. And in all of that stagnance and in all of that nothing is going to be a C4 that is going to kill not only Fuya there with its shotgun, but it's going to be also take down the IQ and the sledge. So just like that, we do see the refrag though, so that is going to be the echo down, as Autumn is once again just sneaking up onto the mute plane there, and just like that, it's going to be a 1v2 as Sketchopotamus is downstairs and is in a very favorable position. But the one problem is Autumn has rotated into a spot where it cannot get C4. It's just so close, and just like that, Sketchopotamus is able to find one onto Bappers, but it's not going to be on the planter. So Autumn playing it very, very safely. She has definitely been the pinnacle for this Queen Yolo mid side in this round. Let's see if she can continue it. She's going to have to get a 3K if she wants to make this a 2-2 scoreline. She's now sitting here in piano, just waiting for something to happen, as Mozzie is running very, very close to running out of time.
Oh, look at that though. Tries to fake it out, but Autumn knows better. Goes to the pre-fire and gets the kill. Sketchopotamus trying her best, but the positioning for most players just doesn't favor her in that case. She had no idea where Autumn was until she revealed her location, and at that point Autumn could rotate. She had the freedom of movement that Sketchopotamus didn't have, and of course, how do you win against the F2 in that situation unless you land the best headshot of your life? That's not going to happen, so 2-2 is going to commence. And now 2 defenses won by Victoria's Secret. They can go back to the bar cocktail lounge because that was not a defense 1. They've won, if I'm correct, they won the reading room, they won the kitchen. So they need to try top once again. This is the only bomb site that they haven't had success on. So they're trying again, which is interesting. I wonder what they're gonna bring to set up differently because they had some success on the white hallway hold, but all of a sudden Autumn just was Autumn, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure she got like a 4K in that round or something. So she definitely opened it up and closed it out. So very well played by her. But the rest of the team falling short just a tiny bit every once in a while. So the mute had a really good hold, but everyone else seemingly on the long bar and cocktail side, they need to step it up a bit. I'm not entirely sure what went wrong there. Maybe just gunfights won by the rest of Queen Yolo mid. I mean, I guess definitely gunfights won by Autumn May. Other than that, though, they just gotta find a way to shut her down. Maybe, of course, get some more info, because both teams are leaving holes surprisingly in the same place. Both white stairs holes are kind
Yeah.
of being exploited. One by Autumn, two by Goddess, and ironically, it was Goddess to be caught up by that last round. And the player, I think it was Sketchoponymous, down inside of pillars. That was a bit unlucky. Either no one was on the default cam that was placed up above Red Hall, or it was just destroyed. But either way, they did not have information on Autumn just crouch walking around the bomb site, and that kind of led to their demise, because if they shut her down there, that's 2 more kills that don't go in Queen Yulamit's favor, and that's probably a round win because of how successful that mute was on that white hallway hold. So yeah, mute actually playing at a different location this time. They're definitely trying something different. You've got Mozzie downstairs, Goddess even farther below. We'll see if this works out for them.
Yeah, so what we're seeing right here from it's a completely different hold, but it's almost the same foundation of what we've seen from the side of Victoria's Secret almost every round. It's a deep roam that kind of relies on your defenders to be extremely far away from the site and just kind of wait for that late flank. And it's kind of similar to what you see Reciprocity used to do quite a bit with Laxing. That's why Laxing is one of the best players in a 1vx situation when X is greater than 2, because he's so far off site, nobody knows where he is, and then he makes his presence known at the perfect time. He knows the exact perfect time to pounce, and that's kind of what Goddess is trying to replicate here. You see Goddess, and I think it was also Sketchoponymous, super far away from site, just waiting for potentially a plant to come down and chuck a C4 up, or waiting for the attack to just completely ignore either red stairs or white stairs, and then you'll see those roamers creep their way up into those various locations and make their presence known by, well, killing the attack. And that's kind of what I'm expecting to see here from the side of Victoria's Secret. But the only problem with this is the fact that Autumn May, once again, is already finding herself in sight. Rachel Boo, though, is able to find a refrag, but it's not going to be a direct one, as Autumn May is still alive and well, and that is always very, very scary if you are on the defense side of things. But here's the problem again for Queen Yolo is the fact they now basically almost have control of site, but there are still so much, there's still so much presence below the site. You could have a C4 come up and kill you, or you could just have a roamer come up and behind and shoot you. So the flank watch needs to be stellar for the side of Queen Yolo if they want to win out this round, and it looks like that's kind of what they're setting up to do right now. As we saw, it was Autumn May sitting on the back of red stairs, but again, Queen Yolo stalling out after basically asserting their dominance on the entire map. They've just kind of given up and are slowing down quite a bit here. There's not much action happening. A little bit of a cold war for both of these teams, as Autumn May is somehow still in freezer and has not been drawn out. As Goddess on those white stairs once again is going to be able to find one onto Ashton, and it's going to be Rachel Boo peeking into the freezers, is able to find one onto Autumn May. It's going to be left to your Gridlock, and the IQ with 11 seconds left at plant is going to have to come down almost immediately right now, as it looks like it is going to be happening. Fuya with about halfway could potentially get that plant down as Bappers. It's a great shot, but it's going to be immediately refragged, but the plant is down. It's a 2v1 situation, but it does not matter, as Goddess with a pitch perfect retake is able to shut down that attack from Queen Yolo mid, making it a 3-2 advantage for Victoria's Secret.
Look at that. Similar strides as every other round, but you know what happened differently this round? Autumn got shut down, and Winter came early this year, because Rachel Wu getting that frag onto Autumn, stuck in freezer for about 20 to 30 seconds. That was basically the linchpin that won them that round, I'm pretty sure. They've got one more attempt at an attack Queen Yolo mid do, but that's almost all they have going for her right now, or all they have, well, kind of all they have going for them, because Autumn getting that entry on the previous round on that top floor attack, that was absolutely what opened up that round for them. And not having that again, she did get an entry, but instantly refragged. That's not exactly what they're going to need in that case. They have Autumn going for 6 and then one other player going for 5. Everyone else kind of falling off. Autumn's the one that's really opening up kills in the frag department. So unless they can find a way to maybe hit the backside of a site or something, if they're going to go for a freezer take in this case, because it is the lower bomb site, it's going to be kind of difficult for them to find openings on a team that is kind of bolstered by Goddess in this case, because we've seen the entry war kind of go back and forth between Goddess and Autumn in this matchup so far. Every single round, 5 rounds, we've seen either Goddess get an entry, Autumn get an entry, and trading that back and forth. And it's come down to who can get more picks onto both teams.
10 seconds to insertion.
Yeah, and I mean, every team is undefeated when they have more points at the end, and that's kind of just what it's been coming down to, is who's going to be able to trade it out at the very end. Because it has been, except for one round, back and forth, and most of the time it's like a 2v1, a 1v1 situations like that. The only round where it wasn't was the flawless round, and I think round 4 was, yeah, I think it was round 4 or 3, I don't exactly remember. But one thing I want to clarify is when I say lone rat mentality, or you have a rat mentality, in my vocabulary, that is 100% a compliment. So do not take that the wrong way. Lone rat mentality is like the pinnacle of Siege, in my opinion. So do not worry if you guys hear me say that. That is 100% a compliment. But we are going to be seeing now, this kitchen defense was a little bit interesting for the side of Queen Yolo Mid. They didn't clear out the up top, and it resulted in, well, something like this, as lack of dronage and lack of intel is going to lead to the death of Autumn May, but it's going to be somehow immediately refragged. I don't exactly know where Animosity even was. I did not even see her on my screen, if I'm being honest, but Sledge from behind the bar is able to take down Goddess, so that is a huge refrag. Yes, you lost your Twitch very early on, but you took down a roamer. As Sketchopotamus, basically mirroring Animosity, is able to find a kill onto the Sledge. So refrags after refrags is the name of the game for these two teams right now. But look at this. The roamers are doing their job perfectly. They are shifting the focus of the attack away from the site and on something that doesn't necessarily matter in this situation, and it's wasting a lot of time. Yes, a roamer is important to clear out, and yes, you want to clear that roamer out as quickly as possible, but the problem is right now for the side of Queen Yolo Mid is taking already half the round away. So the roamers, even if Mozzie dies here, which I kind of am expecting will happen, Mozzie's done her job 100% with flying colors, but we are going to be seeing the shots reeling back and forth from Fuya and Sketchopotamus as the pinch is most likely being established from the side of Queen Yolo Mid. We're just going to have to wait for the execute, as it actually seems like Fuya has somewhat retreated, as Bappers is going to be the one to take the kill on Sketchopotamus. So a really good kind of pinch there from the side of Queen Yolo Mid, but once again, it has taken quite a lot of time out of the push, as well as 2 bodies. So very good roam play. Somewhat good roam clear, because yes, you clear the roamers, but I think just lack of efficiency is the best way to put it for Queen Yolo Mid on that roam clear.
Yeah, timing as of now, they've lost their vertical control too. They don't have a Sledge to open up those holes. All they have is a Jackal and maybe a Mozzie if they want to use their shotguns, but one of those gets taken out. As I'm speaking, Rachel Boo gets lit up in return, but no response just yet. Ashton, I think, missing a couple shots, or it was Fuya. They're both in kind of the right place to get that frag, but neither player making it happen. Now 20 seconds left. They've got to make something happen. The wall isn't even open, and this is looking like it's a defensive round. Excuse me, I was on a roll there for a second. Speaking about a roll, that's not exactly what the attack has in their favor. 10 seconds, Jackal gets taken out by Estrella, and Rachel Boo with the follow-up headshot on Ashton, and defense, as always, wins out on the half 4-2. This is not looking good for Queen Yolo Mid because they already stacked against the cards, or the deck is already stacked against them because Goddess is on Victoria's Secret's team. So ironically, this is what's going to have to happen again. Autumn May is going to have to go big on the defensive side, maybe along with Bappers and Fuya if they want to find something out of this match. But I don't want to call it just yet. Look at the kills on the board, though. There's a player on Victoria's Secret with 10, and that's even saying Goddess and Autumn May falling first last round.
Yeah. And I think a good thing for the side of Queen Yolo Mid is the fact that this is a defender-sided map, and a 4-2 scoreline going into the half is nothing you should be afraid of. This is most likely the scoreline you're going to see in Pro League, in Challenger League, and literally any type of competitive play. This scoreline that you're seeing right now is the most likely to happen on a map like Cafe. Sometimes even a 5-1. So the fact that Queen Yolo Mid escaped with a 4-2, it actually puts them in a pretty reasonable situation to bring this game back and again potentially go into that overtime situation that we saw so much of in week number 8. The thing that I think Queen Yolo may need to fix, though, is the fact that the gun skill and the mechanical skill for the Queen Yolo, for the side of Queen Yolo mid is one of the, if not the best, one of the best in the league. So I think relying on maybe that aggression and just kind of peeking what you want to peek and getting into the face of the attack as soon as possible is going to be the name of the game for the side of Queen Yolo mid. Because if they unfortunately, I think, kind of fall into this passive playstyle, it's not going to fit the way that we've seen Queen Yolo mid play week in and week out. I think that aggressive playstyle, getting into the face of the attack and just being able to just run around rampant is exactly the type of playstyle that really fits Queen Yolo mid. And now that they're on defense on a map like Cafe, this is the perfect time to do that. So I'm hoping we see that from them.
Yeah, I definitely want to see more coordination among them too, because we've seen just about every single attack round that they've had the kind of the same idea, the same strat going into each round, which is kind of just let Autumn May walk in the building and hope she gets a pick. Sometimes it works. Obviously, the round she got a 4K, it worked really well. But other than that, she's either been the first or second death of every round, and I think that's because she's not exactly getting droned in. There's no intel for her. She's just walking around and hoping that her gun finds a player. That's not the best thing that happened. Obviously, yet again, hindsight's 2020, and they don't get to relive that again. They don't have any more attacking rounds to go off of. So hopefully on defense, they've got sort of... So they kind of have the same idea because they do have a Mozzie. So hopefully they've got an idea to kind of fix that mentality and maybe give them some info when they're roaming around the map. Because look at that again, Rachel Boo, crouch walking around the map. This is kind of a trend so far on Cafe between these two teams. It's slightly weird, but I mean, if it's working for them, I guess why not change? Why change it, right? If it ain't broke, they don't have to fix it. But so far, it's a bit more broke for Queen Yolo mid than it is for Victoria's Secret, because it looks like the rest of the players on Victoria's Secret, as opposed to Queen Yolo mid, are able to pick up that slack that their top fraggers are not putting on the board as of yet. In 1 minute, attackers not looking okay. Trades along the board. Brit does get taken down by a good C4 by Ashton, but instantly refragged. Estrella is pretty low on health now. I think she can get injured and still get back up, mainly because she is that Sophia, but even still, a bullet from anyone and a follow-up if they manage to catch the down is going to take her out. So already the round, 30 seconds remaining, looking like it's in favor of the defense, especially because they do still have a bunch more utility. Probably some smokes on Autumn May, a gun on Fuya, and Animosity with that Echo drone, but as I'm saying that, Fuya does get taken down. A response from Autumn, 2 more remote gas grenades, and yes, she does have smokes left. And the time is tight. They know where Autumn is, but I don't think they know that Echo is injured. Even if they do now, the revive is happening, but no, it's not going to matter. A flurry of kills, and I don't think she even gets the res off. A sketch upon him and Estrella close the round out. And still the advantage for Victoria's Secret, 5-2 after the first round of the second half.
Yeah, that whole round for Queen Yolo mid actually looked really good. They had 5 bodies still on the board, and you only had 30 seconds left. Almost every single time when there's a situation like that where you have so many defenders up and there's not as much time as you would really like to have as an attacking team, the defenders are going to win basically 9 times out of 10. But I think the thing we saw was Victoria's Secret recognized that they didn't have enough control to make an effective plant push, and they just said, okay, you know what? We just have to do what Queen Yolo mid has been known for and just do it against them. We have to fight fire with fire here, and that is just be super aggressive, get right into sight, and just take down people with your guns. And that's exactly what happened. We saw Echo got peeked from a long angle, unfortunately got down, and it resulted in I think it was Autumn May going for the pickup, and then the push from Goddess. Then it resulted in the push from Rachel Boo, and Rachel Boo got the 2 kills on the person down. It just resulted in it was a kind of a domino effect. It was you get one thing, you get one thing, you get one thing, and it resulted in just basically Victoria's Secret making their presence completely known on site and being as aggressive as possible. And I just think Queen Yolo either weren't expecting it or they just weren't cut for the job in that type of situation. They are going to be going back upstairs though, and I actually like this idea. I say to a lot of people, don't get stubborn and don't go to the same site too many times in a row, but I think the thing we saw from Queen Yolo is they fundamentally had a really good hold here. They brought it down to 30 seconds, and again, they had 5 people on the board. So if they can just win their gunfights out a little bit more and just maybe have a little bit more organization and communication, simple things, the little things that they need to fix, they could easily win this site and win this round. So I'm really happy that they are, in fact, going back to this site.
They're trying it again. They did get really close that last round, so not surprising. And yet again, Fuya crouch walk. I've been saying that so many times, crouch walking, but that's been basically what every single team has been doing so far. Estrella breaking the trend, sprinting around the bottom. I'm pretty sure she's being droned in by Rachel Boost, so good coordination by the side of Victoria's Secret. And that might be the one thing they need. One little advantage that they have over Queen Yolo mid, because that is the one thing that Queen Yolo mid did not very much do, is have that intel. And there you go, Estrella with the pick on Ashton. That's the Valkyrie off the board, that's the C4, and the valuable gun as well. And Rome kind of cut off with that Claymore. They've got some safe haven, unless Bappers wants to drop out of Cigar anytime soon, or drop out of Piano anytime soon. Doesn't look like it's happening. She does get a pick traded by Goddess on the window, and a second one known at pixel spot, taken out. Good frag onto Autumn May, and that's the carry from both teams exchanging kills. Goddess in this case, actually not even the carry. I'm pretty sure she's the second frag right now. So 2 players waking up for Victoria's Secret, and unfortunately for the other side, Queen Yolo mid, their top frag is down off the board, and Animosity and Fuya left in a 2 versus 4. Need to bring this back, and there's plenty of time for the attack as well to do whatever they need to get this bomb down.
Yeah, you have about a minute and 15 seconds left, and now it's a 4v1, make it a 4v none, as Victoria's Secret winning round number 8. And this snowball effect that we mentioned a little bit earlier has definitely kind of come into its full form, as it looks like Victoria's Secret might be starting to run away with this game just a little bit. I'm expecting Queen Yolo mid to go to a different site. That could be just what the doctor ordered, to gather a couple rounds here and there. But I think Queen Yolo mid, as of right now, they have done their best to rain on the parade that is Victoria's Secret, that is Goddess on Victoria's Secret. But it looks like the forecast is fairly sunny, and it doesn't seem they're getting too much traction in this game, because there's rounds where they get so close and then it just gets completely shut down in the last happenings of the round, and it just kind of, it definitely does numbers to the confidence on the side of Queen Yolo mid. So I think right now they really have their backs up against the wall, and there's not much they necessarily need to fight for, because they are still in playoffs. So I'm probably guessing they've almost, maybe, potentially, I'm not 100% positive, I'm just making assumptions here, but they could have easily just chalked this one up and said, all right, we had a bad game, let's just save our strats and let's just move on to playoffs. And that could easily also be what Victoria's Secret is planning to do right now, and we could easily, potentially, see this game either go 2 sides of completely different coins. We could either see this get really, really close because Victoria's Secret let their foot off the gas because they know that there's not much at stake and they're also ahead in the round count, or we could see this game just end right here because Queen Yolo mid are saying, all right, well, this game's kind of over right now, as we're not really getting too much and we don't want to show too much going into playoffs. But it is only, that is only a kind of a problem only time can tell.
Yeah, and you can't really blame them, right? There's nothing like this match. Yeah, it moves them a couple places, like we said before, but again, they're all gonna be in playoffs, so it's just fine. They can make some content, maybe get some stuff for the YouTube channels or Twitches, whatever they want. But either way, they'll be sitting pretty for the end of the season. So whatever they have to show is probably not going to be in this round. And I mean, speaking of showing that, like, round 1, they had a pretty complex strat going on, Victoria's Secret did. But again, we saw that time and time again, actually. I didn't mention that, but I'm pretty sure Victoria's Secret and Queen Yolo mid were employing relatively similar strats, if not exactly identical. They both shred the wall in between piano and long bar for the default plant, and they both have that shotgun player playing inside of bathroom top floor right outside of Whitehall. I think Victoria's Secret was a mute, and then Queen Yolo mid was a smoke, but even still, similar strats. And yeah, I'm not surprised that Victoria's Secret are managing to read that as well, because they do have Goddess, and I'm not entirely sure who the shot caller is, but just because there is that pro league experience, they're probably a lot more fluid, and they can adapt a bit more if she is the shot caller for this day. So both teams having similar strats are probably proving to be a bit more, it's in favor of Victoria's Secret because they do have that flexibility. But in this case, kitchen defense and quick take by Victoria's Secret. Looks like all the roam isn't even, well, it doesn't really exist right now. Ashton is inside of VIP, but that is not where the source of the aggression lies. Top floor is being taken control of. Goddess running around. Look at all this. They're so confident. Like, they don't have to be scared of anything. There is Jaeger here, Fuya, supporting Ashen on this roam, but Rachel Boo is outside that big window, basically cutting off anything that they could possibly want to do. The door is castled, which means she might be able to run back in her freezer, but Estrella's here, probably with that info and a better gun as well, so I'm not going to be surprised if she wins that gunfight. 1 minute left. Time is ticking. But look at this. An entry frag is Estrella gets a pick on Ashton. The cameras get shot down. That's a bit unfortunate. Maybe some miscommunication or someone wasn't on cam when they were supposed to, but letting that frag happen, definitely not going to be in favor of the defensive side. And once more, it is a 4 versus 2. Different players on the board, but Autumn this time, can she do anything? Bappers does have the number on one attacking player, but they've got a limited number of angles to watch, and there are plenty of attackers to fit all those little puzzle pieces. So whatever piece they choose is probably going to bear at least a bit of fruit, but they have the information because she is stunned by the Sophia lifeline. Can she land a shot? Not quite. Ooh. That is the defuser. This could be risky now. Bandit does get stunned as well. So unless they push on them right now, which they do, Bappers just get taken down. There's 7 seconds. Autumn needs to win 3 gunfights or just stay alive for another 2. 5 seconds left, and the defuser is being planted. So it seems like Victoria's Secret has this under control, but as I say that, another follow-up frag. 1 versus 1. Goddess has a good angle though. If Autumn May doesn't pre-fire this, she's probably going to lose the round, and yes, Goddess has that frag, even though the Legion is actually ticking into her foot. But it doesn't seem to matter. Victoria's Secret do take this map and, yeah, secure their place in second, if I'm correct. They're not going to take first. But, yeah, so, yeah, the standings are going to be quite solidified at this point.
Yeah, the standing... Oh, yeah, no, I'm not muted. I thought I was muted for a second. But, no, these standings are definitely kind of taking shape. The only game we have left today that could really make a major shift in those standings is going to be Disrupt versus Axios. And I think the big takeaway from this game is the fact that we should not judge. Well, I think this goes for anything in Siege. Just don't judge people on their mistakes, because Queen Yolo mid, they made a couple mistakes here and there, and I think a lot of people are going to be like, what is this Queen Yolo mid? They're not going to be good in playoffs. Oh my god, oh my god. That's not the mentality you should have right now. Queen Yolo mid is an extremely talented team. Victoria's Secret is an extremely talented team, and I think going into playoffs is when we'll really see, if they play again, when we'll really see these teams go kind of neck and neck, and we'll see the true game. I don't want to call this just a blow-off game, but it wasn't as much at stake in terms of, I think a first round or second round of playoffs is going to definitely have a little bit more kind of tension behind it, and maybe just a little bit more substance to it. So I don't necessarily think this is the best game to look at Queen Yolo mid and say, oh my god, their playoff hopes are just slandered because they just lost to Victoria's Secret, or the other way around and say Victoria's Secret are winning the finals, because I really just don't think it's going to be like that. I think we're going to see a completely different style of play going into the playoffs, as well as the fact I don't even know if Goddess is going to be going into the playoffs with Victoria's Secret, so that could definitely have a major effect on the way Victoria's Secret plays. But either way, it was a 7-2 victory in favor of Victoria's Secret, and I think the thing that really slowed Queen Yolo mid down and resulted in this fairly one-sided matchup is the fact that they got scared early on and they fell into this very passive style of play, and that's not something you really want to see from a team from Queen Yolo, like from a team like Queen Yolo mid, because Queen Yolo mid thrives in that chaos, thrives in that aggressive play, and the fact that they got basically immediately pushed into this super slow-paced, passive tempo, it really kind of threw their whole entire game plan off.
Well, here's the other interesting thing that I think you need to consider as well. As Queen Yolo mid did find themselves behind in the game, and you guys touched on it during the match, was you kind of find that breaking point where you talk to your team and you say, do we want to give anything else away? Do we want to give any more strats up, anything like that? Or can we know that we're in the playoffs, and here's where your thinking changes. At this point, they're either going to seed 3rd or 4th. If they seed 3rd, they face Victoria's Secret again anyways, and Cafe very well might be one of those maps that they play.
Yeah.
Then, if you do end up seeding 4th, because DG might actually lose to Axios. That might happen. You might still get that 3rd seed, and you're facing Victoria's Secret again. If they seed 4th, if DG beats Axios, you're going to have to go up against Artemis. Well, if you want to win the whole thing anyways, chances are you're going to go up against Artemis at some point. why not get rid of them in the first round if you think you're able to do so? I mean, everyone should hope they're able to do so. And then that way, if you get rid of Artemis in the first round, you go into those finals, you know, with pretty high
Very
expectations, high
confident.
hopes, very confident, and a lot of motivation. So, it's really hard to dissect a match like that because there's a lot of different factors, I think, affecting the outcome of the game. We saw those substitutions, the super sub of Goddess there, the substitution having a big effect. And then as well as it as let us know before, Henry, the long game. You always have to think of the long game and what are the implications of all the moves that we make now. But yeah, phenomenal game. It was still interesting to see, interesting to watch how the two teams went up against it. But VS, Victoria's Secret taking that 7-2 over Queen Yolo mid. Now, what we are going to do is go to a quick 5-minute break now, but stick around. When we come back, we'll be going and seeing Outdeuced versus Powerhouse, which should turn out to be a very good match. We'll see you guys in just a few minutes.